This is the ROG Phone 6 Pro from ASUS. It's their most powerful gaming phone, and it's running the new Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, a very powerful chip. It just tops benchmarks, fantastic performer, but with that performance comes heat. But ASUS has figured out how to not just obtain the best performance with this device, but also sustain it for an extended period of time. So if you look at just raw benchmarks, this runs at about 10, maybe 15% better than a regular Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, while also using slightly less energy, and it's seemingly from the more efficient fabrication process of TSMC. Now, the problem with any kind of top-end smartphone performance is heat, because in order to get crazy scores, these devices pump out a good amount of heat and then the systems have to throttle down. And it's not just Android phones. Some Android phones throttle more aggressively than others, but even iPhones have to deal with that issue. You just can't maintain maximum performance on a phone indefinitely. But I would say that the ROG Phone 6 handles its heat quite well, on par with an iPhone 13 Pro Max. But this year, ASUS has a new accessory that just takes the whole thermal game to a whole new level. So this is their new AeroActive Cooler 6. And okay, so traditionally, the coolers that ASUS makes for their ROG phones are these fan-based coolers, right? So they have a fan that clips onto the back of the phone and it's blowing room temperature air onto the phone. And it's better than nothing, but it's not particularly effective at removing heat from those systems, right? This year, they're using a Peltier inside it. So it's a thermoelectric cooler that's pulling heat from one side of the device, like the side that's attached to the phone or touching the phone, to the back side of it that has the fan attached to it. And it's just really effective at pulling heat off of this device. So the best way I can show this is with a device from Razer. So this is their phone cooler. It's made for iPhones, but I'm using this because this can be turned on and activated away from the phone, so I can visually show the effectiveness of this. So when this is sitting around in on a room or on a table, it's room temperature. But when you plug it up, you get the RGB Razer lights, but this part here gets very cold. Like we're talking 10 degrees Celsius, so like around 50 Fahrenheit. It makes a little bit of noise. It's obviously a fan pulling the heat off of that heatsink, but this Peltier is very good at chilling things. Like 10 degrees Celsius is like a chilled drink. It's cold, not just cool, cold. But this device from Razer needs to be plugged in to pull this off. Basically, every thermoelectric cooler for phones needs to be powered up to be able to work, but not this thing. So this works powered directly through the phone. I'm just gonna connect it real quickly, but when it's plugged up and using the phone's power, it'll run in this kind of medium effective mode called Frosty mode. It's pretty good, but there's also a higher wattage frozen mode, which requires the device to be plugged up to power, but that gives you the best cooling performance. And there's also a cool mode, which is fan only, so no Peltier. And there's also a smart mode, and this will automatically switch between the different modes depending on the thermal load of the device. It connects to the phone via the side USB-C, and the cooler itself has this eject mechanism to help you get the device on and off. But there were a couple times when I had connection issues with this device. Now, I don't know if it's because it's a pre-production unit. I feel like it could be fixed with software, but sometimes I'd connect the thing up and it wouldn't detect the connection on the phone. Now, the rest of the phone has had some tweaks and updates, both on the inside and out. If you look at the internals, this has a bigger vapor chamber, it's got more of the graphite material, and there's a seemingly huge chunk of thermal compound in here that's sandwiched between the two PCB boards. And it's all in pursuit of just better thermal performance on this device. And on the back of this phone, there's this new passive matrix OLED display. It's a different orientation and configuration compared to last year, but you can customize it very extensively in the software. You can show charge status, the game mode, incoming calls. There's a ton of stuff that you can do with it with the built-in animations, or you can upload your own animations onto the device. The rear camera system has been updated, so it's a completely new main sensor. It's the IMX766. I took a few photos, don't have any complaints. Both the main shooter and the ultra-wide look quite good to me. The front screen's been updated to an even faster touch sampling rate to 720 Hertz. It's ridiculously fast, and also the touch latency is at 23 milliseconds, which is a slight faster than it was last year. But from what I can tell, there's no difference for me. Like every game that I played on it, it's always been fast in terms of the kind of touch responsiveness. It's seemingly just as fast this year. There's still a bezel around the display, which is arguably a good feature on a gaming phone, and there's still a headphone jack, And the RGB light back here can be customized quite heavily for notifications and such, and it still has a great pair of front-firing speakers. Also, it still has an option for up to 18 gigs of RAM for the people that would need that, and it still has a huge battery, 6,000 milliamp hours. It's a split battery, so it's two 3,000 milliamp hour cells, and because of the improved thermals on the inside, when you juice it up, it actually juices a little bit faster than the previous generation with the same 65-watt charger. And the air triggers, so these have been tweaked a little bit this year. They still feel like regular air triggers, like there's no tactile feedback when you click, but it's improved year on year. But the overall product is very impressive. This to me is, it's difficult to engineer something this good with that Snapdragon chip being as hot as it is. Like it's a powerful chip, but because it runs hot, it's challenging to make this work, but ASUS did it. Great phone, really cool cooler. There you have it, the ROG Phone 6.